In the remote north of Scotland, there exists a landscape that is both captivating and unique. This vast expanse of land unfolds like a tapestry of untamed beauty and ecological richness. It is a place where time seems to slow down and the rhythm of nature takes on a central role. This is the Flow country and is Europe's largest area of blanket bog, covering 1,500 square miles of the northern mainland counties of Caithness and Sutherland in Scotland. Blanket bog is a very rare type of peatland that only forms in cool places with plenty of rain. The development of blanket bog began around 5,000 years ago, when the climate became wetter and cooler, and the then forests slowly disappeared into the treeless landscape we see today. We can, however, still see the odd tree stumps uncovered from that bygone era. The wet and cool conditions slow down the decomposition of vegetation. The resulting layer of partially decomposed mosses and grasses builds up extremely slowly. The Flow country blanket bog has been accumulating peat for several thousand years now. The layers of peat create a barrier between the bog vegetation, groundwater and underlying bedrock. Fed only by rainwater, the bog becomes increasingly acidic and very low in nutrients. This environment is characterised by specific plants that have adapted to living life on the edge. This sundew has a sinister side. Its sticky sap attracts insects, gluing them to the leaves. The leaves slowly curls around the insect, digesting it and absorbing all the insect's nutrients. Cotton grass, that locally we call bog cotton, whose wool in earlier times was collected and made into candle wicks. Sphagnum mosses are especially adapted to grow in these waterlogged acidic soils. The living carpet of sphagnum mosses can hold up to 20 times its own weight in water. This absorbency and its antiseptic properties was used extensively during World War I for antiseptic bandages. The distinctive bell heather with its bright purple bells in summertime, that was used in earlier times for dyeing wool. And the distinctive bog bean plant popping up through the water. One of the amazing plants is the heath-spotted orchid that brightens up the flows during the summer months. Stretching across the counties of Caithness and Sutherland, the Flow country is a mosaic of boggy peatlands, dotted with countless pools and lochans that shimmer like fragments of a fractured mirror. In this vast area of untouched wilderness, there are three distinctive zones: the east, central and western areas, each having its own specific characteristics. The eastern zone in Caithness is characterised by the drier and lower-lying flat areas bordering on the more fertile agricultural land on the east, and the hills to the south of Caithness. The central zone is characterised by higher ground and vast areas of nothing but blanket bog. The western zone is interspersed with the foothills and higher mountain peaks on the west, and is characterised by more rocky outcrops and increased rainfall. In this area, a small amount of peat is still cut by local crofters for fuel in the winter months. Right in the centre of the flow country, the Royal Society for the Protection of Birds has a visitor centre at Forcenard Station on the scenic North Highland Railway line from Thurso and Wick to Inverness. This journey is regarded as one of the most scenic lines in the UK. The train arrives at Forcenard Station before heading northeast through the Caithness flows to Thurso, the northernmost railway terminus in the UK. The RSPB Visitor Centre at Forcenard is housed in the former station building and helps visitors to gain a greater understanding of one of the world's rarest habitats, as well as the creatures and birds that live on it. The reserve has 2 marked trails of different lengths, which allow visitors to explore the peatland habitat up close and personal, discovering the complex pool systems and to get some glimpses of the amazing plants and wildlife on the reserve. The Flow's lookout tower allows for a unique perspective of a classic pool system on the Dulothan Trail. Lizards love to lurk along the edge of the boardwalk, where the black coating retains the day's heat, although a poor hairy broddig gets swept off his many feet by the relentless winds. Red deer in Scotland have no predators, and you are guaranteed to see plenty of them in the flow country. You can hear and see curlews, the hunting hen harrier, golden plovers, lapwings and greenshanks, and many more migratory birds all over the expanse of this land. This unique landscape took a long time to form, and it started way back at the end of the last ice age 10,000 years ago, when this area was covered by ice up to 1 kilometre in thickness. Gradually, between 10,000 years and 8,000 years ago, the ice melted, firstly leaving a barren, rocky landscape, similar to the Arctic region of northern Canada today. The climate warmed further, and short alpine grasses developed, and eventually, over time, the whole area slowly became a grassland and went on to full forestation right across the whole Highlands. During that period, the climate was a lot warmer than that of today. But climate changes, and around 6,000 years ago, the climate slowly started changing to be cooler and much wetter, very similar to today's climate. Slowly but surely over time, the trees disappeared and grasses and mosses replaced them, and the peatlands formed. Taking a look at a cross-section of the peat bog, we see on top the waterlogged mosses and grasses being slowly pickled in the acidic environment. As we move down, the waterlogged mosses and grasses are now partially decayed. These plants, lacking oxygen, don't rot and instead are slowly compacted, firstly into a fibrous light peat, and then with the pressure of thousands of years of growth, are compacted to between 6 to 10 metres in depth. There lies the flow country's hidden strength, its ability to lock away carbon, making it an important resource in our fight against climate change. It is estimated that the flow country holds 400 million tonnes of carbon, equivalent to a staggering 100 years' worth of UK fossil fuel emissions, and more than twice that stored in all the forests in the United Kingdom. The carbon was originally atmospheric carbon dioxide and was incorporated by living plants into cellulose and other carbon-rich materials. Now this same carbon is harmlessly locked in the dead plant material that forms the peat. Where the bogs are in good condition, carbon continues to be trapped and safely stored away. Hence, the peatland is called a carbon sink. The danger, of course, is if this vast area of peatland dries out, all the stored carbon would eventually be released into the atmosphere, adding significantly to our worldwide carbon dioxide levels. This is one of the reasons the Flow countries' blanket bogs are currently under consideration as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, joining others like Stonehenge, the Grand Canyon, the Great Barrier Reef, and hundreds of other significant places that seek to protect, at a national level, the cultural and natural heritage of the world. This poem, The Flow Country, encapsulates what it is to experience this special place.
Come by the slow, single-track road north of Helmsdale. Slow your heart to the rhythm of the changeless Flow Country, a collage of shining lochans in the heather moorland, treeless under the vast northern sky. Lonely country, time trickling ceaselessly as the motion of the water to the sea. Long summer days of bird calls and insect hum against unshowy flowers and mosses. Short, bleak winter days swept by the restless wind. Beautiful land, unbending to man, filled with frantic life in every jewel lochan. Leave as the birds fly away to roost, as the sun goes down, and the land turns to gold. Leave only your footprints. Take away your soaring spirit.